Welcome to Season 2, Episode 9 of Business Matters Podcast from the Wind Technology Studio here at the Eau Claire Area Chamber of Commerce. We want to thank our media sponsor, Royal Credit Union. And today we're going to be talking about manufacturing and the importance of it. And then as we come up on the tail end of October, and October being Manufacturing Month, our guest here today is Shawn Kapanke. Shawn is with Silver Springs Foods here in Eau Claire up on the north side. And so, Shawn, why don't you give us a little bit of history on Silver Springs? And one of the things that I enjoy about it, and I think there's a larger number here, is the generational ownership we have in business. And I believe Silver Springs is on fourth generation?
That is correct, Dave. So thanks again for having me today. Silver Spring has been in business for 95 years, so we hit that milestone this year. So we're trying to catch up to the chamber, but I don't know if we can do that. So.
And just for clarification, neither of us was here at the beginning, so just to be sure.
Right. So we've been in business for 95 years. So we started back in 1929 on a family farm down on Highway 37 that the family homestead is still there, and some of the buildings have been modified a little bit, to say the least.
Updated?
But we started, back then in 29 as a family-owned business. Through the years, we continued to evolve. Currently, we're underneath our fourth generation of ownership, as you mentioned. And the business continues to grow. So we have our family farm. We have over 5,000 acres that we own and operate here in west central Wisconsin. Our claim to fame really is we are the world's single largest grower and processor of horseradish. So another feather in the hat of Eau Claire County.
There we go.
Is that we are worldly recognized for that crop here. So with our farming operation, we also have manufacturing up on the northwest side of Eau Claire. Everybody may be familiar with the Silver Spring brand, but we do have a bunch of other brands that we own and operate as well. So Silver Spring is pretty much known throughout the country. Our prepared horseradish is the number one prepared horseradish in the country. In 1999, we purchased Bookbinder Foods, which is a famous restaurant in Pennsylvania. So we started manufacturing that label here. That brand is recognized around the United States as well. In 2009, we acquired Kelchner Food Products, which was the number one horseradish and cocktail sauce in the Pennsylvania area, which is also the number two market in the country for those products as well. So we brought those products back into Wisconsin as well, where we manufacture those. The cocktail sauce for Kelchner is the number one refrigerated cocktail sauce in the country as well.
Oh my goodness!
So it's pretty humbling to have two nationally recognized products that are ranked really high. We also have a couple other brands, the Atlantic seafood brand and Breedy, which is another company that we acquired back in 2020. So it's kind of neat to bring all these brands back to Wisconsin, specifically here in Eau Claire. And be able to manufacture those high-level quality products here. With that, we also do a lot of co-packing and private label. So if you ever get into our facility, whether it's through Leadership Eau Claire or other organizations, you'll really be amazed at some of the products that we do here in Wisconsin. We're kind of a hidden gem here. So
going back 90 years ago, how did it start here? I mean. When I think of horseradish, I would say most people I know would say they don't like it. Now, I don't think they've tried it to the right degree or prepared, however you want to say, but how is that? Who woke up one morning and said to themselves, let's start growing horseradish?
Right, very good question. Our founder, Ellis Hunsinger, back in 1929, he lost his job as a traveling salesman.
Okay.
So he fell back on his family farm. And he kind of started doing vegetable crops to augment his income, during the Great Depression. But obviously in the winter around here, you can't really do much. So he started planting some horseradish, where he would harvest that in the fall. He would store it, and then he would kind of process it back in a little milk shed in the back of his farm. And then he'd start selling it door to door, and that's kind of really where it started.
Oh my goodness!
It is a very unique condiment.
Yeah,
it is very spicy, and it's it's just very unique. So
Right.
it's one of the challenges that we have as an organization is how to promote or develop new products using horseradish.
Well, I think that's one thing that I've been really impressed what you do is, again, you have, I think, again, most people, if you think horseradish, it means I'm having prime rib for dinner. You know, that's kind of where the supper club type thing. But you have expanded that to being an ingredient in many other things. To talk a little bit about that, because of course I love it with a lot of the barbecuing I do, and I use that as a binder in many different things. But you have it in mustards and different things. So how did that all kind of come along?
Well, it can only go so far. I mean, everybody traditionally uses on their prime rib and their sandwiches. So really our goal is how can we utilize it in other condiments. So we use it obviously in cocktail sauce. It's one of the main ingredients. But then really to try to find what the generational impact has as far as the younger generation on how they can use it. So we've really utilized social media to try to find different ways to use the application. So we, as you mentioned, we use it in mustards. You can use it in other things like mashed potatoes. Bloody Marys has been a big thing that we've been pushing for. So we work a lot with the local establishments.
There we go.
To really utilize horseradish in Bloody Marys. Again, social media has had a big impact. So we try to look for different ways to utilize that. We just came up with some brand new sauces, a horseradish aioli, which is phenomenal.
It is excellent, folks. When it gets
only
out there, get it out.
Yep, you can only find it locally right now. So look at your local grocery stores because you'll find it there today. So really continuing to utilize social media. We work with a company called TasteWise that really uses AI. As well as some other impacts on where these products are being utilized right now. Social influencers, you know, anytime we can get more data on horseradish, the better we'll be.
Okay. So where else, you mentioned you have the farm here, it's where it started, but where else are you sourcing product from? It can't be just here.
Yeah, horseradish is obviously our main our main ingredient, but we have over 500 different ingredients that we have at our facility due to the wide range of products that we produce.
Okay.
So we really, source materials all over the country. We try to stay within the Midwest just due to the transportation costs. So we really, try to utilize those.
Sure. And I had asked you this question a couple weeks ago when you shared with me your new products that are out there. How long does it take you from concept to it's coming off the line to come up with these new products, and what is that process like?
The process can take anywhere from 3 months to 2 years.
Okay.
But obviously one thing that we really look at is what's trending in the market. So as I mentioned earlier, we look at social media. TasteWise is another company, again, that we look at to see what is trending. Mm-hmm. And we try to come up with flavors that will kind of piggyback where the trends are going to. So new developments, we could develop a brand new product in a matter of a couple of weeks. It's everything that goes along with that development, whether it's label creation, distribution, those types of things.
And you talked about a couple of the product lines you have brought on. Do you have some of your customers, I'm assuming, who approach you and say, hey, we need something new here. Does that generate from them as well? Oh,
absolutely. Our customers are our greatest resource. So they constantly come back with feedback on stuff that they're seeing in the market because regionally wise, everybody's taste preferences are different.
Right.
Where the Midwest is a little different from out east. So we're constantly getting feedback. Our marketing, our R&D group is constantly using that information to come out with new and flavorful condiments.
So one of the things, again, that I learned working with you over the last few years, coming out of those 2 years where we locked everybody down in impact. Talk a little about your workforce and how diverse that is, but how far out you have people coming because you're working 2 shifts, correct?
Correct.
And so what does that impact for you, and what does that workforce really mean to you as a company?
Well, us personally, and it's no different than anywhere else, your people are your greatest asset. So that's really where you have to focus on. We have people coming up to an hour away to work every day. Obviously when COVID happened, it really put a wrench in everybody's system. We were growing, double digits year over year When COVID hit, it was no exception there. We saw our categories change a little bit. We're pretty well diversified where we deal with industrial, food service, and retail. We really saw when COVID hit and everything shut down, we saw our food service portion really just drop off since all the restaurants were closed. So then all of our retail went through the roof. So we had to kind of reevaluate what we needed to do from a manufacturing side. So really duplicating some of our efforts in the plant to make sure that we have the ability to be flexible and nimble as things change was a key for us, which we already had in place.
Right. Yep.
It just we had to expedite that process. From an employee standpoint, as I mentioned, employees are your greatest asset. So, right when COVID hit, we really had to reevaluate how we work with people and use people in the facility. As employment shortages happened, we really need to evaluate how we utilize our people. It got to the point then where anybody that came in the door, we'll hire you, and that was no different across the industry.
Correct.
Was that the right process? Not really. So now we're really taking a step back, looking at our resources, investing in more training, employee engagement, culture, those types of things to really make sure moving forward we have the right people. It's not about the quantity; it's about the right people in the right places.
Because, like all industries, it's not for everybody to stand on a line or do those kind of things. So, I think everybody, you're right to your point. You need to find the people that works for, and then take care of them. How are you addressing, when you deal with, again, we know in the state of Wisconsin we don't have enough workers, and it's not going to turn in the next 10 years. We're just never going to be able to catch up, right? So how are you utilizing AI or technology to keep up with the demand from your customers that want product, yet you may not have enough workers? So where does that mix come into play for you?
That's kind of twofold. We have to look at the people that we do have and are we utilizing them in the best manner. Okay. So obviously we put some additional training in place, added some more support staff to support the training, really rationalize the business that we are running in our facilities. So really take a step back and is this who we want to be? Is this really the product we want to run? Really looking at technology and automation, automating more of the process. You're not really eliminating employees. Because you still need people to run the machines.
Correct.
So we tried to standardize our equipment across the facilities. So each one of our lines has very similar equipment. So when it comes down to training, whether they're on line 1, 2, or 3, they have the ability to operate those machines. And then really looking at your business again. What is good business for you? Mm-hmm. What's profitable business? We used to be the one-stop shop for everybody. We would do everything that anybody would want us to do. We kind of had to take a step back from there and really understand where we sit at the table and really execute that.
Again, when you talk manufacturing, a lot of people don't understand the supply chain, and one piece goes missing, and all of a sudden it stops. What does your supply chain look like? You mentioned a little bit earlier, and you try and keep into the Midwest, but how are you always looking at, are we going to be able to get what we have, and if we don't, what do we then do? Does the line stop, or are we able to back that up somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, if you've been in manufacturing, you can't stop that line. Time is money. So
correct.
Having a resilient supply chain is so important. So I'll just kind of go back to horseradish in general. Obviously, being the largest grower and processor of horseradish, we can kind of control what we grow and what we bring in.
Okay.
We have tried at times to grow 100% of our needs. That can backfire on you too if you have a drought.
Okay.
Your crop is bad, whatever. So we've really kind of diversified our horseradish. So we grow about 70% of what we need, and then we buy about 30% in the off market. The same goes true with the components and ingredients that we purchase to use within the factory as well. You can put all your chips in and you get the best price by going with one supplier. But what happens if that supplier closes down, or they have another customer that pushes you aside, or COVID happens,
yep,
and they have to allocate their resources? That's when you need to be more diversified. So What we've done, we've kind of went back to being a little bit more diversified, not putting all our eggs in one basket. We have multiple sources for most of the things that we purchase, which can cost you a little bit more, but it really does help you through some of those challenging times that all manufacturers are faced with.
So when you're looking at that, how are you collecting data? What is it you're looking for to consumer trends? And one thing, again, I don't think people really realize that you are shipping your product across this country. We have different taste buds, from the East Coast to the South to the West. How do you try to gather all that?
Again, it really comes down to the efforts like our marketing team does, is they really provide the organization with each region, what the regions our preferences are, and really engaging with AI. I mean, that is fairly new. Okay. So we're really trying to utilize AI, social media, all those types of avenues to really give us the data on what is the next thing for us.
What do you see, again, for any good business, you're always looking down the road, what's coming at us. What do you see in the future for Silver Springs in the next 5 to 10 years? You talked about, horseradish is the main staple, but how long do you hold on to a product, or what are you trying to figure out? What's that next big thing for you?
We're constantly evaluating our products that are in the market today. You're looking at your top versus your bottom and trying to find new and innovative products to go in, again, using our marketing team to do that. So one thing as the sales group needs is when they go in to see new prospective customers, grocers, they can't go in with the same old products all the time. That gets a little bit old. So we got to come up with something new and innovative every time they go in there. That's the only way that they'll get appointments to see some of the grocers out there. So we continue to look at what the future holds, what are the trends. It's an up and down roller coaster is really what it is.
Sure.
But really leveraging what we have internally, the infrastructure that has been built, and really maximizing what we have there. Consumers are still price sensitive, so we can't continue to increase prices on groceries. I mean, we hear it in the news every day, especially now with the elections. But you can only go so far on that. So we really need to find ways to cut costs internally. We were just at the Association for Dressings and Sauces a few weeks back, and consumer preference is still taste. It is not the healthy certifications that are on there. Price, it still comes down to taste. Condiments make your food taste better.
Yep.
So why would you even spend money if it didn't do that? So Eric, our fourth generation owner, likes to say big T, little h. So big T is taste. That's still the number one thing that consumers leverage is the taste. So if you're not making it taste better, why waste the time? So we make great products that taste great.
Oh, interesting. I like that. So we talked about workforce a little bit, but I want to take this a little bit farther. So again, in manufacturing, and probably more to the food side, I think people think, well, I don't have that technical skill. I'm not a welder or CNC or computer. Talk a little bit about what is the manufacturing process in food, but what are you looking for to employ? What are those skills or those traits? Maybe somebody out there listening and say, well, wait a minute, I fit that. I don't need to know maybe everything coming in the door. So kind of walk us through what your workforce is and what you would like to find and know in maybe new employees.
Right. I think one of the keys that always gets left off is it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you are. We're looking for a person that will fit our culture. Okay. Culture has to be the key in any organization. You can get the best employee out there, but if he doesn't fit into the organization, it creates a lot of static or waves.
Yep.
It's not a good fit. Really we have positions all the way from, accounting to engineering, finance, manufacturing, warehouse. I mean, pretty much soup to nuts.
Right.
We house here in Eau Claire. So we're really looking for people that just have that desire, that Midwest work ethic is really the key. We can teach you anything once you're on board, and that's why we've really, put all our chips in our training and development program is to really develop people into the type of people that we need at our facility.
How do you look at the manufacturing industry as a whole to the state of Wisconsin? I mean, for years, probably our number one job sector, and to some degree still is. But how do you see that, and where's maybe the manufacturing sector? What are the changes you're going to have to look at again as we go down the road?
The sector is big. It's one of the biggest in Wisconsin. I think there's over 500,000 employees, almost 9,000 manufacturers in Wisconsin, which is kind of astronomical when you think about
it really
farmland.
Is. Yeah.
And 9,000 companies are in manufacturing. It's just a matter of adjusting to the way the market is, how to do more with less, how to, maximize your automation, utilize your employees the best you can. And just using the resources around you. I'm sitting here with the chamber. Utilize your local chambers and help you with some areas instead of trying to find all these professional, people to fill certain pockets. Utilize your local resources to take off some of that, that weight that you may have on your shoulders. So, all in all, it's about embracing what's coming.
Yep.
Embracing AI, embracing technology. That's really going to be the key.
Well, and you said it, and I think most people do know, but whether it's technology or AI or any of that, it doesn't mean the loss of jobs. It just means, we're going to do it differently. And we've certainly seen that here at the Chambers. We start to dabble, I would say, in using, AI in different platforms and things. You can be more productive at some point, So I think people have to understand it's here. It's not going to go away. It's how do we utilize it at the best ability for different industries, because we'll all use it in different ways,
Right.
So we started off with, Silver Spring is its fourth generation. Is there a fifth generation coming up behind you and your boss? And what is that future as you both look at it? Who's going to come in?
Yeah, if Eric was sitting right next to me right now, his goal is to really set up the company for the next 95 years is really his goal.
Okay.
Eric has 4 unwritten pillars that he likes to share, and I'll share those with you guys. Is number 1 is be a great place to work.
Okay.
Number 2 is solve customer problems. Obviously, if we don't have customers, we're not in business. Weave the brand into the fabric of the community, and that's one thing that Silver Spring really loves to do is support local nonprofit organizations, and as well as the other area businesses in the community where all 300 of our employees live.
Yep.
And number 4 is be a tastier place.
Oh,
so
like that one.
I love those 4 pillars. Again, they're not written anywhere, but he talks a lot about them, and I firmly believe that those are really critical for our business to succeed down the road.
Interesting. And sometimes some of those that are unwritten are the best ones because
Absolutely.
Everybody just feels them. I mean, they're there, but they're not. You don't have to write them all down.
Right.
So our final question for you as we wrap this up, Shawn, is kind of what the one we pose to everybody is, why does business matter to you?
That's a great question, and you can answer that in so many different ways. Business matters. It's really a means for personal and professional growth, both in your community as well as personally. I mean, the food industry is obviously essential for the well-being of us locally as well as within the United States, and it's highly regulated, and the regulation continues to get tighter and tighter, which it's more costly, but I firmly agree that we need to do that.
Sure.
You guys have all heard of all the recalls that have been out in the market today. They just had one recently about McDonald's onions or the boar's head scenario, and that can really put a company under.
Yes.
Especially when you're dealing with kind of triage when you have some of those. So it's very highly regulated. You mentioned that we do business with a lot of national customers. We have the highest standards at Silver Spring. We are BRC AA+, which is the highest rated audit that we can have. So very proud of what we've accomplished. And that's kind of why we have kind of the customer base that we do have, just because of the infrastructure that we have built, with the top 2 things being quality and safety. It really are the 2 top tiers in any manufacturing that you should worry about. From my perspective, safety, quality equals profitability. Everything else will follow suit. it's just we're excited to be in Wisconsin, specifically in Eau Claire for the last 95 years, and we're looking forward to another 95 years and continue to bring good and delicious foods to your table.
Okay. All right. Well, again, thank you, Shawn. Appreciate you being here. And folks, thank you for listening, and appreciate you sharing the Silver Spring story.
You are welcome. Thanks for having me today.
Wonderful. Well, folks, that wraps up Business Matters Podcast. Tune in for our next one coming soon.